Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Pace, and welcome back to everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. A longtime fixture on the amateur MMA scene, or at least he's been on the show several times as an amateur MMA fighter. Now coming back to the show, about ready to make his pro MMA debut, is Anthony Hounddog Hogeback. Anthony, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Luke, for having me. I appreciate it.
Not only are you making your pro debut, it is fight week for you. So thanks for coming on during your fight week. I know there's a lot going on. You're going to be making your debut for your new Line Cagefighting this coming Saturday. It's going to be your pro debut. So let's talk first about that. You've a experienced MMA, amateur MMA record of 5 wins, 3 losses, almost 10 fights. That's quite a bit for most amateurs. Before we talk about your pro fight, what kind of stood out from you for you in your amateur, and how did you know this was the time to go pro?
Well, I just didn't want to be an amateur for too long. I think some people make that mistake. And that was always the goal of mine when I first started this, was to one day become a good professional. So I think it was time. I have some good wins over some good guys, and I have an amateur title, and I took some losses. I learned a lot in my amateur career. So me and my coaches and my teammates, who I hold their opinion high, we talked about it, and I think it was time. So we ultimately made the decision to try and start looking for a date around this time of the year. That way I could, kind of get one last amateur in around, February, March, which happened. And then, use that kind of like a stepping stone and a good momentum boost to go pro. So that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, that seems to have worked out. I don't think I had you on after your Samuel Kinker fight, and I apologize for that. You had a great fight, a nice first round guillotine choke over a very experienced amateur fighter back in March. So how did that, what did that feel like? What was your confidence like coming out of that fight?
Yeah, I knew he was a really good brown belt, and I got him with a high elbow guillotine in like the first minute of the fight. And I felt like I dictated like every second of that fight, even the grappling exchanges, even the stand up. So I think after that and how dominant it was just time. And I just didn't think there was like another. I think I accomplished the goal of being an amateur, like I got my experience. So, but with that fight specifically, like, yeah, I felt awesome. I didn't have any crazy nerves or like, I was just excited to be there. So I think that was probably like another thing.
Yeah, and you had mentioned at the top of this that you hold your coaches and your teammates in high respect. You represent, it's on your chest. You represent Stout Pittsburgh, and two, kind of fun for 247 Fighting Championship. I know you're fighting for a different organization, but you fought for 247 several times. 247 runs a great regional promotion in the Pittsburgh area. Stout Pittsburgh is obviously in Pittsburgh, and you trade out of a gym that's the 2-time reigning coach of the year and the 2-time reigning gym of the year. What is it like training at Stout Pittsburgh, specifically coming into your pro debut?
Yeah, they have me well prepared. Like, I've been training pro rules for a long time. Like, it's not just like oh, it's time to go pro now and I'm gonna, learn how to throw elbows and knees. Like, I've been doing that for a while. So yeah, they prepare everybody well. I mean, if you go on our Tapology of our gym, like the show for themselves, like we all got, you know, a lot of experience and a lot of good wins, and we're starting to have a bunch of pros now. So and a bunch of good amateurs with belts and what have you. So yeah, man, like Stout's the best place to be if you're in this area, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I know a good buddy of yours, Lucas the Sniper Siebert. He's now 1-0 with an incredible win over an opponent that you had picked up a loss to in your amateur career. Like you said, you were challenging yourself. That's a good thing. It's great, of course. Everybody I know wants to go undefeated, but getting losses in amateurs means you're pushing yourself, means you're figuring out flaws, to your game, things like that. And of course, a pro rule set is a different rule set. Lucas timed a really nice jumping knee. So obviously you couldn't use that in the amateurs. Now let's talk about this specific fight. What are your thoughts? You're in fight week, so talk to me about fight week. Talk to me about your thoughts and your expectations going into your pro debut.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that's also a good thing about a lot of amateur fights is I've had a bunch of fight weeks. Like I've been through fight week. I had 8 fights, one canceled on fight week, so I've had 9 amateur fight week camps, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like fight week is what it is. It's just a lot of sitting around, kind of slamming water. So not, just wait until the night comes around so you can kind of sweat it all out and do it again the next day, and trying to sleep, playing a lot of video games. I've actually worked my like job yesterday, and I work tomorrow, but like after that, I'm just doing nothing but just trying to dial it in and all that stuff. So fight week's going good. The weight's really good. It's actually the best it's ever been for 35 for me. So I'm excited about that. And then yeah, for the fight itself, like my expectations are, I don't really think this dude has much for me, like at all. So I think I'm gonna go in there and do what I please.
It's a great mindset to have anytime you're going into a fight. Without giving specifics away to your potential opponent here. Don't know if he would watch this, but who knows? In general, what aspect of the pro rules are you looking forward to? Is it the much longer time? You're talking about the longest amateur fight is 9 minutes, at least, in the area, it's 3 3s. Now this is potentially a 15-minute fight, although you could finish him earlier. Longer rounds, different rule sets, the flying knees that I mentioned, that your buddy Lucas Siebert used, elbows. Is there an aspect of the pro rule set you're looking forward to the most?
I think I'm just looking the thing that excites me the most is I just get to be free. I don't have to like sit there and like think about like, oh, am I allowed to throw this right now, or can I do this right now? Because that kind of limits you, and it can like slow your thought processes down. But like even in sparring, I'm not really doing that because you'll back some up on the wall, you'll throw a knee, like not really caring where it lands because there's not a ref behind you being like, nope, you can't do that, and you just got a point taken, or you might just get disqualified. So like yeah, I'm excited for that, just to be in there and be free. And a lot of those weapons that you get as a pro, like it makes your opponent like a little limited. Because like they're like, oh, maybe I don't really want to shoot into this knee right now. Maybe I really don't. Maybe I can't chill on the wall, because I'm gonna catch some elbows or something like that. So, yeah, that's what I'm excited about the most, and also the 5 minutes because, like, even a 3 minute round is like really hard to like get going and like find a rhythm and like, set things up the way you want and like pace yourself the way you want. I mean, even a white belt jiu-jitsu tournament, you get 5 minutes to work. So like, yeah, maybe the amateur scene could do like maybe 1 5 minute round or 2 5 minute rounds or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, the amateur rounds are really short, and I didn't dig that. So I'm excited for the rules for sure and the time.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. I'm looking forward to having you back on after your fight. That way you could talk about kind of what actually, not only what happens, but how did you think? Like you said, were you more in a flow state? Because at the pro rules, if you see an elbow, you could throw it. If you see a knee, head kicks, there's just so much more. Most people think of pro rules when they think of MMA because of promotions like the UFC and many others, Bellator and ONE, FC, and PFL. The reality is there's a lot of different rule sets underneath that. So super excited to see what's going on. Do you have people you want to thank, whether they be sponsors, fans, supporters, trading partners, family members, people you want to thank coming into your pro debut?
Yeah, thank everybody, especially my family, for like putting up with this lifestyle for so long without getting paid nothing. So that was, I appreciate them from the bottom of my heart always. They know who they are. And then obviously my sponsors, they all know who they are as well. If you go on my Instagram soon, there'll be like a little poster page with all of them posted. So yeah, shout out to all my sponsors because literally without them, it wouldn't be possible. And then Stout, my gym, all my training partners, all my boys and girl, Britt. So I appreciate everybody. And I appreciate you for having me on and let me come talk about it for a minute.
Absolutely. I've been following you, as you know. If fans don't know, go back and watch a lot of the interviews that Anthony's had on. I think I've been following you since your first or second amateur fight, and that's what's always so great. You know, I've been honored to follow you, Lucas, and a bunch of other local Pittsburgh fighters. At this point, it's kind of fun. I've been around long enough doing this that I followed a lot of fighters from their amateur debut up now to pro, and still waiting to follow somebody. Could be you, could be Lucas Siebert, waiting to follow somebody, all the way up to a pro title fight, and then the next level, and all the way up through that. But it's really an exciting time. Your gym, Stout Pittsburgh, is maturing a lot of fighters into the high amateur, low pro ranks. Obviously, some of the other gyms in the area are doing the same as well. Indio's been having some fighters come up through, and things like that. And MMA Academy. There's a bunch of gyms that are doing it as well. But Stout's obviously at the absolute top of maturing fighters up through it. So and I know this doesn't directly relate. Yeah. So it doesn't directly relate to you, but the Pittsburgh area. What do you think about the Pittsburgh area and the community of fighters?
Well, just to touch on you for a minute, I think your podcast is super cool, and I think it's awesome. You give like even like beginning amateurs like a little chance to explain themselves and put themselves out there. So and it's growing, and I've seen it grow for the last couple of years. So I think that's super cool what you do, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure all the other fighters that get to come on appreciate it as well.
Well, thank
But
you. That means a lot. I'm honored to do it. It's a great opportunity for me, and I'm glad you appreciate coming on because I hope to continue to follow you. But go ahead. Thank you,
yeah,
Coach. Oh, thank you.
and yeah, but no, the Pittsburgh area is super cool, and I think it's like pretty unique in the sense that I came from like the Baltimore area originally when I first started this, and like gyms are even in like the close proximity, like a couple miles away to each other, like really don't mesh and like talk to each other that much or like cross train that much. So coming up to Pittsburgh and like having it, everybody in the area that's you know any decent is at Stout on Saturdays, and I think that's super cool because we all get to learn from each other, and it's like I feel like when you do it the other way and you're like really secluded and you don't like put yourself out there for other gyms and coaches and fighters to see you, you're like withholding like valuable information from them, and it might be because you think you're gonna fight them someday or something like that. But I do like how we really don't have that mindset here, and everyone's just here trying to help each other. And then it obviously is working because you got good pros all over the area. Like Kama kind of started it off. Mike
Mhm.
Kama and Wilkins started off, and now we got Lucas about to have myself. You got Miguel. You got uh Ferdos, you got Patton, um you just got a bunch of guys that are starting to do this, and the gyms behind them are doing this too. So I think that just kind of uh you know it's the results are speak for themselves with the area that we're in. So it's super cool
Yeah.
to be a part.
It's an incredible everybody at the gyms you just mentioned. It's an incredible attitude. It's a humble attitude within gyms. I think sometimes that's the issue, like you mentioned down in Baltimore. But I have the honor of interviewing a good number of fighters right once they win, including you in the past, and an attitude that I think is really cool is when a fighter says something like it's Pittsburgh versus the world. Obviously happy to represent, you're wearing the shirt, happy to represent your specific team. That means a lot. Like you're at Stout for a reason. Lucas is at Stout for a reason. You mentioned some of the other fighters, Patton's at the Mat Factory for a reason. I mean, they're all great gyms in and of themselves, but I think it's a great attitude when fighters are happy to represent Pittsburgh bigger, and have that mindset. They want all of Pittsburgh to improve and get better. So it's always an honor to have you on. I know it's tough to come on during fight week. You've been very kind with your time. We were missing each other for the last several weeks, so I appreciate you squeezing me in on your fight week. Best skills in your debut Saturday. Can't wait to have you back on to talk about your big win. And I just really appreciate the kind words that you said about me and MMA Fancast. So thanks so much for coming on. You've been listening to Luke Payson from MMA Fancast with now pro MMA fighter Anthony Hounddog Hogeback. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks so
Got
much.
it, brother. Take care.
I'll see you Saturday. I'll be at the fights.
Oh, well, then I'll see you there. All right. All right, bud. Yep. Bye bye.